Hey, good morning, Leslie, Quisqueya, Diane. Who's the Zoom user? What is your name? There's someone here as Zoom user. Do we have spies in the Writers Salon? Hmm. Okay. Let me look this up. So, folks, a lot of things happening with DWA. So a few announcements. Um, like I mentioned, I'm leaving to DR next Friday, because our writers retreat will be in Santo Domingo, July 6th through the 13th in the Zona Colonial. And then the following week is our Cabarete retreat. So I'll be away for a bit. The salons are still going to be happening. Ailey will be back on July 5th. She wasn't able to be here today, but Raquel here was so gracious to come in and teach today's workshop. The weekend of July 10th and 12th, if you find yourself in New York City, I invite you all to attend the Dominican Book Festival that is happening at the George Washington High School campus on 193rd Street and Audubon Avenue. It is a completely free book festival. Dominican Writers has an entire room to ourselves where we have 2 days of programming set up. We've been sending that out via the newsletter. If you wish to attend any of the sessions, you must register. They are free, but you must register because space is limited. So we want to make sure that whoever register is able to get into the space. So we have writing workshops, we have a networking event, we have a tote making activity, we have an open mic, and a panel happening within those 2 days of programming. So you could definitely go. We're on the same page where you register for the writing salon. You'll see the writing workshops that we're offering at the festival. Again, I'm not going to be here for the festival, so don't look for me, but my staff will be there. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them and they'll let me know. What else is coming up? Um, yeah, under events, I guess we have quite a few things. We have a memoir writing workshop that Eli is starting on July 7th. So if you're interested in that, is an 8-week writing workshop on memoir writing. I know a lot of you are working on memoirs. A lot of you asked for it, so I expect many of you to sign up. If you have if you need a payment plan or whatever the case may be, please reach out to me individually and I'll be happy to set that up. Um, and let's see, there's also a self-publishing workshop happening at the end of July. That's also on the writing workshop page. And yeah, a bunch of stuff happening. Just I don't know. If you're on the newsletter, that's how you'll find out of everything that we're doing. So yeah, today we are happy to have Raquel Penzo. Raquel and I know each other for what, more than 10 years, Raquel? Raquel had her own literary, I guess, space where she put together the most popular book. What was the name? Pelo
Peínate, yeah.
Fíjate, is an
Yeah.
anthology about hair chronicles, right? I don't,
Yeah.
I think it was mostly Latina women that contributed to the anthology, but you could find it at your local bookstore. You could find it on, don't buy it from Amazon, but you could find it anywhere online that books are sold. Is a great anthology. I have a poem in there about hair as well. And about 7 years ago, Raquel retired
I did.
anything related to writing. And now she's back. Not my fault. I just put it out there because she comes to some of the
Hmm.
events and I'm like, what are you doing with your life? Come back. And then the other day she hit me up and she was like, oh, I might be available to offer editing services. So she's going to be able to tell you about the services that she offers if you guys ever need an editor. And she will also be teaching a few workshops for DWA as well. Okay, do let her know how much you like her because I'm pretty sure you're going to like her. Give her lots of feedback so she is enthused enough to come back. Okay, so Just a little background on Raquel. I'm going to put some respect on her name and read her bio. Okay. She is an editor, storyteller, and marketing professional who specializes in crafting and developing content that keeps readers engaged. As the founder of Pluma y La Tinta, she curated, edited, and published 4 anthologies, developed manuscripts for independent authors and poets, led writing workshops on novel and memoir writing, hosted a reading series for new writers, and operated writing clinics to help authors triage their work and improve their craft. And you can currently, she can be found critiquing the 100 plus books she reads on IG. Yes, she reads a lot, so she's always on there critiquing books. And you can follow her at Raquel Penzo on Instagram. So, Raquel, if you want to say a few words and now share the presentation.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Kilo active on Storygraph.
Oh, yes. I definitely am on Storygraph. I update it as soon as I finish a book because otherwise se me olvida. I forget everything. And everybody here speaks Spanish, so it's okay if I go
The
back and forth,
majority,
right?
except for Diana. I don't think Diana speaks Spanish.
Oh, okay. I won't do too much then, but it just naturally it'll come out. But yeah, I'm on Storygraph a lot because my brain, I forget everything. But thank you so much, Angie, for letting me host this. I'm trying to get my feet wet again. It has been 7 years and I've never done it over Zoom. So this is new. I'm on the computer a lot, but never for stuff like this.
To do
So
all of our writing workshops in person. That just reminded me.
I used to do everything in
COVID,
person.
that COVID hit and everything went virtual. Yes.
Yeah, so I did take a little break, and it was funny because 6 months later, COVID hit. So I was like, oh, I took a break right on time. Um, just needed it, just a little burnout, but figured I'll come back, dip my toes in a little bit, not full force, but I figured I'll start with workshops and see how it goes. So hopefully you guys enjoy what we talk about today. I thought it would be, I looked at what other things you guys have discussed in previous workshops. And so I thought maybe we talk about character development. There was a lot of just story crafting. And so I thought maybe we focus on the people, right? So just quickly, if anybody feels like sharing, I would love to get like a 1 to 2 minute on yourself, what you're working on, and your experience with writing. Anyone, feel free to start.
Also, feel free to call them out because
Oh,
sometimes
that's true. Anyone want to start? I'm just gonna go for.
ella, vamos a empezar contigo.
So last fall, I did a 90-day memoir class, and so I wrote for 90 days, and I have a draft, a very, very bad draft, but I have not gone back into it to actually revise it and edit it. So I'm trying to figure out, I think though I didn't have the right ending yet. And so that's it. That's where I'm at in my writing journey.
Look at that.
Okay, thank you. Uh, let's see, Leslie, you look like you want to share.
Hi, how are you? Thanks
Hi.
for being here. I ha also have a draft, but it's like a mini draft of like 50 pages of fiction YA. So I'm just hoping to get back into it too. And I guess my day job is I'm an educator in New York City, and right now we just started break.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Cielo.
Hi, everybody. Cielo, they, them, he, him, el primito cubano. I am working on a speculative fiction novel about a young genderqueer person and their godmother. And it's set in an alternate universe that's very similar to ours, but in this one, Ronald Reagan like took 3 terms, and there's been hyper militarization, and that government in the current moment was just deposed by a group calling themselves the feminist state. And so now there's this crisis of like, what are people going to do who fall in between men and women? What are folks going to do with them? So that's my novel. My protagonist's name is Ayexi. And I was just telling my friend, like, they're so mad at me right now. I've been writing this novel for like 6 years. I'm so ready to finish it. But like, Ayexi.
That's nothing. I've sat in on our author talks where they're like, oh, this took me 11 years. You're right on schedule.
Right.
Ayexi's not talking to me right now.
Well,
Like,
we're gonna try to, coax them out of wherever they're hiding.
great, thank you.
You're welcome. Diana? Are they not on right now? And I don't know who the Zoom user is.
Yeah, they're not revealing themselves.
Okay. Going once? Oh, they're in the chat. Okay. His name is Josh, and he's writing a short fiction. Oh, yeah, no, I had trouble with Zoom as well. So thanks for tuning in, Josh. And Diana, are you still there with us? All right, so I guess we can get started. Angie, if you want to just put the intro slide to the presentation.
I'll do that right now. Oh.
So we're going to be focusing on character development, which I know because I'm in that bookstagram sphere right now, there's a huge trend of just tropes and like, this is, enemies to lovers and all that stuff. And that's cute and that's great if, that's what you're attracted to. But the crux of a good story is whether or not your characters are compelling and if they're believable. So we want to make sure that in the midst of the plot that we're putting together and in the midst of all these, tropes that we're listening to, the people we're reading about are people we want to know about. And that actually can work for fiction or nonfiction. Because in the end, you're still telling a story, whether it's your memoir or if it's a fiction piece. Okay. So let's think about what makes a character, like if you read a book recently, what makes a character bad or boring? Like think about something you've read and you decided not to finish because you're like, ugh, I don't even care what happens to these people, right? Can anyone give an example of something they read recently and what turned them off?
I just read this book. The main reason I had to DNF it is because the timeline didn't work. It was supposed to be set in 2053, but they never said that. So you're like trying to understand why this person is 70 now when they're a teenager in the 90s. But the voice of the character was just very like choteao, like just very like overdone, like it was like a stereotype.
Okay.
Actually, this has happened to me with memoir too, where I just felt like there's a certain Cuban author who wrote a memoir that I was just like, I just kept hearing the theme to I Love Lucy, like it was just like I'm like it's almost minstrelsy,
Yeah.
And I think that is a problem. I mean, I've certainly seen it in my own work when you just run, like you're running on fumes. You just like run out of creative juice. But it was too, sometimes it's contagious, and I just had to get away from it.
Yeah, that can be a huge problem is sometimes your character is just a caricature of what you think a bad guy should be. And it's important to make sure that your characters have different layers because everybody is like that. Not everybody is 1,000% evil or 1,000% good. We're all in the middle somewhere. And we just have to figure out what triggers bring out the good or the bad. So now, can someone else tell me what they've read recently or a favorite book where the characters are just somebody who stayed with you? And it's like every once in a while they'll pop in your head and you're just like, damn, remember that time I read that book about so and so and it was just so strong that book just stays on your mind.
I went to grab it. I was reading a couple of books and I couldn't finish them. And then I started reading Take What You Can, and I
Okay.
couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. It was so good. And I actually finished it in like a week.
Wow. What was it about the character that
Oh, you got an arc. Look at you. By the way, Leslie, we're doing a literary dinner for that book, and I hope you come.
Oh, really? Oh my God. This is one of my favorite books
Yes,
this year, I would say this
I'm
year.
working with the author too for the dinner.
Oh, really? Okay. Um, I think the characters, they had a lot of contradictions. They it wasn't about being good or bad. They also the author did a good job in and also like including their backstory and talking about what love looks like in their lives and how that sort of impacted them. So it was layered, but she wrote it in a way that was so it was like having a conversation with another person. So that's why it was so um just easy for me to read and relate to versus the other books that I've been reading have been very hard to get into because they're not as maybe it's a cultural thing, but it's just like they're not as relatable.
Okay. Angie, actually, can you put up the warm-up screen because that's actually what I'm doing right now. So yeah, it was just I wanted you all to just think about because a lot of times, I'm sure you all heard this advice before that if you want to get better at writing, you need to read more. And so if we think about the books that we're drawn to and the books that we put down after like the first chapter, we can look at what about those characters and on a grander scale, what about that story kept us engaged? A lot of times you will find that these characters are relatable. You know somebody just like that. Or it might even be a reflection of who you are as a person. You find that even if they're not that great of a person, you want to follow them. There's like what they call the anti-hero. You want to know what's going on with them. You want to know how their brain works. And that's when you know the author has taken the time to make that person believable. So you want to just follow along to whatever they're doing. Okay, so we're going to start now with our first writing exercise. If you can go to the next slide. We are going to take 10 minutes of uninterrupted writing, and I want you to describe your character's intimate space. It can be their bedroom, it can be a purse, a briefcase, a wallet, something that they keep for themselves. And you want to write it in like an observational tone, like you're just observing. You're looking around and maybe there's like a table with like a broken leg. Maybe their house keys when they came in is thrown on the floor. Something where you are just looking at their intimate space that is just for them. And we want to take 10 minutes and write about that just on the surface level. You don't have to go too deep. So I'm going to put a timer and I will let you know when your 10 minutes are up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Just peeking in to say you have about 4 minutes left, so start tidying up your scenes. All right, that is our 10 minutes. Who would like to share what they came up with? And this can be something that was associated with the piece that you're working on. It could have been something completely new, so don't feel shy at all. Leslie, would you like to
I was
share?
trying to figure out what I could read to you all, but I'm not sure if I did the assignment the way that it was supposed to be. Um, Denise has her own room. She doesn't share it anymore since her little brother went away. It is the side of the room that is still the same since the day he left. It's it's bed the bed made by her because she did that for him every day when he struggled. He loved doing it together. And that's all I will share. I'm sorry. I usually try to pick before I. Okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem at all. Thank you for sharing that. I don't think you did it incorrectly. You're still describing an intimate space. So no worries about that. Does anyone else want to share what they came up with in those 10 minutes? And remember, this is raw writing. I'm not expecting it to be Pulitzer Prize winning or anything, so don't be shy at all. Let's see. Cielo, do you have anything you can share?
Yeah, I wanted to finish the sentence.
Oh, sure.
I made it kind of a list. Intimate space of Ayexi, their cigar box altar, things their dia gave them. And then asterisk, I didn't know this. Their dia was a pool shark, and this was one of the tensions. They didn't want kids, but she loved Ayexi so much. A photograph of their dia, a pool cue chalk block, stickers. Ayexi unpacks their little cigar box altar wherever they sleep alone. Mostly it's in their backpack, but inside the cigar box, there is an even smaller tobacco tin that has the photographs, the feather, the hair tie, a braid of hair from when they shaved their head. Today, Ayexi left their backpack at Ima's, at their godmother's house, but carries their tobacco tin in their pocket.
Okay. Thank you. How did it feel writing that?
Well, it was helpful to, Ayexi has this thing, their tia comes up, like they talk about things that they learned from her, but I don't really know a lot about her. And because clearly she's not in the picture, I'm like, what happened? And then if she's not in Ayexi's life, that's an element of grief that maybe I haven't been aware of yet. So that was really helpful.
Okay, that actually is very helpful. And if at the end of this presentation, please feel free to apply all of these to even minor characters. If you want to explore the Thea, that might help inform Ayexi. So you can take this for, even if someone shows up in just one scene, it'll help the story along. So that's good that you had that revelation. Does anyone else feel comfortable sharing? Just jump right in. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. Angie, if we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this exercise was just so that you can kind of get to know your person. Once you know who that person is in the privacy of their own spaces, it'll help you decide how they move forward in the story. And that'll make writing the story a lot easier because you don't have to guess if you put an obstacle in front of that person, how they're going to be because you know who they are deep down inside. It's almost as if how you know yourself, you know this character. So it's always interesting to just do this as a side exercise to get to know the people you're writing about. Okay, and it doesn't have to just be for the main character or their antagonist. It can be for, like I said, a minor character or someone who you feel really affects the main characters of your story. Okay, so let's talk about the next exercise, which is always a fun one because I'm a people watcher. So exercise 2 has to do with observing people in public spaces. If we can go to the next slide. So I am, like I said, I'm a people watcher. I love getting on the subway. I wear sunglasses and I just watch people watch other people. It is the funnest thing. If you've never done it, I highly, highly recommend it. Wherever you are, put on some sunglasses so no one can see that you're watching and watch them watch other people walk by, and you'll be tickled and surprised at what you see. So that's what we're going to do for our protagonists right now. We're going to watch them interact in public. So just imagine them, they're at a house party, a bar, a club, whatever, and they actually accidentally spill a drink, or maybe they break something. What is their reaction? You want to figure out how do they perceive this thing? Do they keep moving as if, oh, whatever? Or do they try to rectify the situation? Or do they try to blame someone else? What is their reaction to being in this kind of tense moment while out in public? So let's take another 10 minutes. It can be the same character you wrote about before. It can be something completely new. Feel free to observe your protagonist or any character and write a quick scene. I'm going to put my timer again and feel free to start. Okay, we have about 4 minutes left. So just to give you a heads up, we'll be talking about this in about 4 minutes. All right, let's start finishing up. Write those last sentences. And would love if someone wanted to share what they managed to write in those 10 minutes, if anyone would like to share.
I'm gonna share. I'm just gonna do it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. And I didn't edit it or anything.
Mhm.
Crash splashed all over the white dress. She's horrified. She thinks that is why I never wear white. The girl's dress has a splash design that's almost artistic, but her face does not look poetic. Esther, after a moment of not being able to move, screams for a towel and searches her purse. She has wipes, hand sanitizer, and a Tide pen. Will any of those work? Not with that stain. Someone comes over with a towel and seltzer water. Oh, she hadn't thought to have that in her purse. She tries to apply the seltzer and towel, and the girl looks shocked. This girl's beautiful. Esther realizes she was holding her breath. Is this what it feels like when your heart skips a beat? Esther reads a lot of romance novels, but right now she just wants to fix her mistake. She hates making mistakes. A flash of 8-year-old comes to her mind. She feels the yelling when she drops a cup, broke a dish, or spilled anything. The world would stop. She can still hear her mother's voice. Her mother's outward demeanor going from numb, floating through the universe to a cauldron of rage, unable to be contained. Esther comes back into the moment and stops because she finally registers the horror on the girl's face. She stops trying to clean up her mess and just keeps saying, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? She accepts that there's nothing she can do. A small part of her also thinks maybe she missed out on an opportunity to meet someone new or make a friend or have her meet cute.
All right, thank you. Now, how did it feel to write that?
It was fun.
Now, is that associated with anything you're working on, or that's just something that you wrote out of the blue?
I just wrote out of the blue.
Okay. Hopefully it'll turn into something. Did you find that you were tapping into something you weren't familiar with while you were working on that?
Yeah, well, I think it was a really great prompt because it would like I could see how the character would how you would respond based on probably something that happened within a lifetime, and so how it could help you see who the character is and also get a little bit of their backstory in that one moment without having to do a long, beginning that says first there was this, then there's happened, then that happened. So
Hmm.
I thought that was a really nice way where you could just get some of the character in without having to have a lot of the initial parts.
Okay. Yeah, good. I personally do not like a lot of exposition in a book. So that is a great way. When an author does that, I'm all in. I'm like, yes, you're going to give me snippets of this person throughout the book. This is how I want to read it. I don't want you to write a history book about this character for me. So that's really good that you found that. Leslie, I saw you put your hand up. Did you want to share?
Oh no, I was trying to be
Oh,
encouraging.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I was writing actually, I was typing something in the chat that it was a good prompt. I wrote something unrelated, but
Mhm.
I hope that it turns into something else. So that was
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Well, I mean, that is the purpose of these, obviously, just to get you writing. Once you're in the practice of writing, the next thing you know, your project won't seem so daunting. Uh, so, anyone else would like to share what they came up with in those 10 minutes? Okay, Angie, can you go to the next slide? Just want to talk about this. So now, thinking about this party foul scene, um, it works on levels like Giskeya mentioned because you get a backstory on a person. You get to also know their true character. Do they have integrity? Are they narcissists? Are they ready to blame someone else, even if it was their mistake? Or like in that scene that Giskeya wrote, is there some kind of childhood situation that forces them to be overly apologetic? Like they take it, it's a simple spill, but they're making it seem like it's World War III. Okay, so the takeaway is that a person's actions in public will help also inform how your story will move along. You have now what they do in private, what their private spaces look like, and now you see what they look like when they're in public, whether they're wearing a mask or not. And so that's important things to think about. Um, Even before you write the story, in the middle of writing the story, if you get stuck, this is a good thing to do with the main character and other characters. And it probably can help get you out of a writing slump. Okay. Now, the next exercise, which is the next slide, is also a really good favorite of mine. And it might seem kind of tedious, but it really, really does help, especially if you're the type of person who likes to outline their work before they really get into it. And so this is what I like to call the Q&A. And I had a ton more questions, but I'm like, let's not inundate you guys with questions. Obviously, if you want to hit me up afterwards and say, hey, what are the other character development questions that you have written down? I'll be happy to share them with you. I obviously sat in on workshops in the past myself. I went through an MFA program where we had all these like craft informed things happening. So I kept all my notes because I'm a little bit of a paper hoarder. So I have a lot of these things saved up from workshops that I've been to, books that I've read. But these I thought were really essential questions that you can ask to create a sort of outline or to flesh out your character. And so for the next exercise, for about 10 minutes or so, we want to answer one or more or all of these what I think are the main ones, which is, what does your character want? And that is essential to know in the story. Even if you don't know it in the beginning, you should know it before you finish the book or during the editing process, because that is important. We need to know what your character wants. How did that want develop? Where did that want come from? And what triggers that want from your character? Also, very, very important, what do they fear? What is their biggest fear? And definitely, this will let you know what kind of integrity they have. What's their line in the sand? Where is it where they're like, okay, this is it. The buck stops here. Something needs to change. What is that thing, that breaking point for your character? So let's take 10 minutes and work on one or all of these questions to kind of flesh out a character, maybe one you're already writing, maybe one you started writing about today, or something out of the blue just to get the kinks out. So I'm going to set my timer for another 10 minutes and you can start now.
Are we on the right slide, Raquel? Okay.
These are the questions that they can use for the prompt.
Okay.
All right. That is actually 10 minutes. I forgot to give you the 4-minute warning because I was busy writing it myself just to try it out. So we had someone who had to leave the group, unfortunately, just in case you guys didn't see that. Um, who would like to share any answers they may have written down for these questions? And just FYI, I put 2 more in the chat just because as I was doing it, I found that I was done so quickly. I thought maybe I would just include a couple of others that I thought would be interesting to explore. So I'm gonna do one. This is based on a short story, a series of short stories that I worked on during my MFA. I just trying to pull a character. Well, that's weird. Computer trying to tell me something. Ignore it. And so it was a group of short stories that I wrote loosely based on my family. And so one of the main characters, what did I write? What does the character fear? This was a character who was dealing with like addiction, right? One of their main fears was not being liked or in death being forgotten. And what were their triggers was loneliness and self-doubt and stress and sadness and grief. A lot of the stories had to do with grief in that series. Um, how did that how did that their want was to be loved, respected, and considered. How did that want develop? And I can't even remember. It's been so long since I wrote it, so I just wrote them as maybes. Maybe it's daddy issues, maybe it's mommy issues, maybe it's grief, or maybe it's something that's just been, lurking in the background. Um, Also, their line in the sand, I wasn't sure. Maybe that's why these stories never went anywhere. They're people pleasers, and so they may not have a line in the sand because they're afraid of that line, is what I wrote. Because going back to their fear, they're afraid of not being liked. So that's what I wrote about this particular character, which maybe I'll go back and see if I can make that a little bit tighter now that I have this little character study of that particular story. Does anyone else feel like they would like to share?
What happened to your short stories?
Oh, they're just sitting on a thumb drive somewhere. A couple of them did get published in like random, like
Oh,
online things, and a couple I think were in anthologies that we did through Pluma y Tinta, but never as I always meant for them to be a book of like linked short stories.
yeah.
And I just never, when I decided to stop writing, I was like, eh, and they're tirado por ahí, just just sitting. But I don't know if you guys saw recently the Pope called out writers and was just like, we need you guys to finish your works and all this stuff. And I was like, I can't believe the Pope is trying to call me out. That's so rude. So who knows? I might revisit them. So does anyone have the Q&As they want to share? I don't want to call you out. I realize a lot of these seem kind of personal. You're feeling a little shy. Hopefully you have written down something that you can use, which is my goal for working on this. Andy, if you can go to the next slide. Okay, while we wait for Angie to go to the next slide, basically what I was trying to cover with this particular exercise is giving you a framework. Oh, here we go. Giving you a framework for your character. It's basically what makes them. And once you have that and once you know it, it'll be so easy just for your story to flow because you don't have to guess how they're going to react to something. You know them inside and out. You know what they're afraid of. You know what they're really after. You know how far they'll go to get the thing that they're after. You know who is in their way and how they're going to react to the person that's in their way. So all of these things can really help. And a lot of these are just like tips and tricks to help you if you feel stuck. Okay, because some of the stuff is innate. You might just know it without having to write it down, and it might just appear on the page. But if you find yourself stuck, these are really, really good exercises to try to get yourself out of that rut that you're in. So now, I don't know if we have, Andy, do we have a hard stop at 12:30? Because there was just one more thing that I wanted to cover.
You could go over if you want. Don't worry about it. As long as people are okay with staying over, it's fine.
Okay, so just because I wanted just one thing that I thought was important, if we go to the next slide, when developing your characters, we want to discuss indirect versus direct characterization. And this is, like it says on the slide, is basically the show and tell of character, show versus tell of the character development. Indirect uses dialogue, it uses actions, it uses internal monologues. You're showing the reader who the protagonist is. You know, let's say it's a scene where someone's making a cup of coffee and there's a noise behind them and they're jumping and they're looking behind them and then they're checking every door to make sure it's locked and they're checking every window to make sure it's closed. That tells you that person is skittish. There's something in them that makes them afraid of just existing, as opposed to direct characterization where the author just outright tells you Mary is a skittish person. And there's a place for both, but I know you've always heard show, don't tell. There is a place for both, though. Sometimes it's okay to outright say what's happening with the character. And sometimes it is better to just let the character be and let the reader infer who that person is through your writing. So let's go to the next slide. It'll be a writing exercise to do with this. We want to do the same scene two ways. It can be a super short scene. Obviously, we want to take maybe just take 5 minutes or 3 minutes per scene. You want to use both a direct characterization and indirect characterization. And what you want to do is you have your character be late for something important, whether it be work, a wedding, their sister's wedding, an exam, a job interview, a trip, anything. They're late for something. And you want to show what's happening from the minute they realize they're going to be late to the time they get there. It can be a few sentences towards that goal, but write it in both ways to see, just to get kind of like that, just to work out that muscle to see if you can tell a story indirectly and directly. So let's try that. I'll set it for 10 minutes and do what you can. It might be a big ask, but it actually is a pretty good exercise when trying to work out your character development. So I'm going to set the timer and you guys see what you can do in that time. Okay, you've got about 2 minutes before we discuss. Okay, I believe that is time. Does anyone want to share what they wrote with this exercise of trying to do direct or indirect um, characterization? If not, does anyone have anything they want to discuss about having to do this exercise? Was it a struggle? Did you find it easy to write in both ways?
I mean, it was easier just to say, Esther hates being late. And then, but so I tried in the second version to have sort of the bodily feeling. So like
Mhm,
slow headache starting or grumbling in her stomach that she wasn't sure about, her
mhm,
deep breathing. So maybe she's not even conscious of the fact that that lateness is such a concern for her, but her
mhm.
body knows. So I tried to make it like like more of the body in the second one, and the first one is more of just like the thoughts that were happening and going through.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Yeah, that I can see how that would be hard to write. Yeah, you really would have to get in her head
Mhm.
and see how that would work for her, how you can show that to the reader. Leslie, how was writing that scene for you?
Yeah, I think it was difficult, but I mean, it always is, I guess. This is what I wrote something very. I'll read what I wrote. Or at least one of them. Denise's phone was ringing. She picks up. It's her mother. Where are you? I've been calling you, and I'm worried sick. Before Denise could respond, she thought whether it was too late to hang up and disappear. Why did she pick up? Why did she pick up? She wondered. Um, that's the first one. And then the
Mhm,
second one is Denise was late coming home. She was supposed to be there at 8 p.m. and it was past midnight now. She was surprised. She was supposed to help prepare for the ACS visit for the next morning. La Vecina said that in cases like this, it helps to clean the house and make sure nothing is out of place. Her mom was relying on her more than ever, especially that all of all especially that all of this was a huge mistake, a huge misunderstanding.
Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's a pretty good example of writing it both ways. How did that feel having to write that?
I think the first one was harder, like the dialogue was harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to, try to be more descriptive.
Right. I think you still definitely gave off the impression that this girl is not where she's supposed to be. Like, so it still gave that energy. So I think you did a pretty good job with the writing exercise. So thank you both for sharing your experiences with that. Can we go to the next slide just to go over this a little bit more? So simple exercise, but it lets you figure out your comfort zone when writing, especially when writing certain characters. And again, it's not a hard rule that you should always show instead of tell. There is a time for both. Sometimes a reader needs to be told something outright, and sometimes you need to paint the picture for them and let them get there themselves. Not a lot of people want to be talked down to. Sometimes they want to go on that journey with the character. So it's just important to find what works in your story. So an exercise like this helps you figure out where your strengths lie for whatever you're writing. And I think that's it. If you guys have any questions before we close out, we can go to the last slide, which is just some final thoughts. These are just some quotes that I love to pull quotes, especially from writers that I feel have a strong work. Anne Lamott wrote this really good book. I think it was about memoir writing. It's called Bird by Bird. And it answers the question, how do I write a book? Or how do you do something little by little, just bird by bird, piece by piece? So I just put these quotes there for you guys to take with you. Hers is, plot grows out of character. If you focus on who the people in your story are, something is bound to happen. And then, of course, we have playwright August Wilson, which I hope that a lot of you are familiar with. And his is, once I learned to value and respect my characters, I could really hear them. I let them start talking. So that's also important. You don't want to insert yourself if the book is not about you. You want the characters to lead the story. And then this is a person who wrote a book about character development, Scott Myers. And his is begin with characters and end with characters, and you'll find the story in between, which I thought was very powerful and very true. Because however you want to organize your plot, it's the people that'll keep others interested. So did you guys have any final thoughts or any final questions when working on characters for your particular work?
Well, thank you. I feel like the prompts is definitely are helpful, and I'm gonna continue them after the workshop.
Great. That sounds great. I'm glad this was helpful. That's always my goal when running one of these workshops. Again, you can find me on Instagram. If you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm a bit of an introverted know-it-all. So,
Raquel, you want to
yes.
put your email in the chat
Oh, yeah. I can put my,
and your IG?
sure. So IG is just Raquel Penzo. And for my email, I'll just give you the Gmail because that's the one I check the most. I do have a website. It's under construction, so I don't really share it. If you find it, you find it, but it's over a decade old. It definitely needs to be redone. But that's the email I check the most. If you have any questions, if you want to hit me up on IG, you're definitely welcome to watch me rant about different books that I love and hate. And I'll definitely follow you back. So that's it. Thank you all so much for sharing and for being with me today on my first day back.
You did great.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good rest of your Sunday.